Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and we're going to take a look this time for our Transformer review at a Micromaster Patrol. This is the Air Patrol. The Air Patrol would be released in 1990, and they would be among some of the last Transformer toys to be released in the Generation 1 line. As you can probably figure from their name, they're a squadron of airplanes, similar to the previous year's Decepticon Air Strike Patrol. And we have here among its members Eagle Eye, Blazemaster, Sky-High, and Treadbolt. So now, let's take a look at each individual one and see what we can reveal about them. Okay, first one up is Eagle Eye. Eagle Eye here is said to be the leader of the Air Patrol, at least according to the IDW comic books. And as such, he uses a rather minimalist style of leadership, as he really doesn't care if his troops get along with each other after hours. It's kind of just do your job and we'll get along just fine. Somehow he manages to make it work for the unit, but tends to mean that he really doesn't care about any of their personal problems. At any rate, let's take a look at his articulation. For his arms, you can fold them straight down all the way like that, and he can raise them up about so far. He has a joint at the hip that allows him to bend his hip forward only slightly due to the fact that the nose of the airplane gets in the way. But if that's up out of the way, it can move. His hip can bend all the way like that. And he does have a joint at the knees, but it basically bends his legs the opposite direction. So not the best overall. And of course, by doing that with the nose piece, can show you there that the nose piece does come off very easily. So if you're buying a loose one, you want to make sure that is on there. Okay, to transform Eagle Eye, you make sure that his arms are all the way down against his body. You'll take the nose piece here and you will gently fold it up over his head, pop it into place. We'll turn him around and then you fold his wings down, like so. Then you're going to bend his legs upwards, like so, so that they fit in to his backside. And then here's his alternate mode of a fighter jet. More specifically, he's a Boeing McDonnell Douglas FA-18C Hornet. Of course, for many of you movie fans out there, the F-18 was the airplane used by the American forces in the movie Independence Day to fight the aliens. So, you can just imagine you've got a little tiny airplane. Go fight it out, go save the world from the aliens. Unfortunately, this plane's a little too small to contain Will Smith's ego. But at any rate, it also does have some little tiny wee wheels here on the side for simulated landings. How well does he roll? Pretty good, surprisingly, especially for not having a wheel on the front there. So, there's Eagle Eye. Next up we have is Blazemaster. Blazemaster is described as the team's cynic, but he also appreciates the fact that he's the only Autobot on the team that can hover. So he tends to like to sneak above Decepticons and catch them unawares before he hits them with his napalm weaponry, and enjoys listening to them cry out and scream as they burn. He almost sounds like the type of guy who would be at home in some of the old Vietnam War movies. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Smells like victory. But at any rate, he's also the only one that comes with a visible weapon. Since, as you can tell, he is a helicopter, so he does have the helicopter rotor blade as his weapon. Let's remove that for a moment so you can get a decent look at it, folks, because this is the only loose accessory for this team, is this rotor blade here. As you can see, it's very, very thin plastic, so it is prone to stress wear and breakage. That's the top side of it, and here's the bottom side. Look at it from the side there, you can see the knob is very, very tiny. We'll set that aside for a moment here so we can go back to looking at Blazemaster and show off his articulation. He can basically position his arms can bend at 180 degrees, so they can go straight up, all the way to straight down, but only on the front. They can't move on the back. He does have a joint at the hip, so you can bend him at the hip about 90 degrees, and he does have a joint at his knees, allowing them to bend as well, so he can be put in a full sit-down position. To transform Blazemaster, you start by, of course, making sure his arms are all the way straight down, like so. You'll take this rear portion of him and fold it up over his head, like so. Then we're going to come here and we'll fold his feet back up against the body, like so. And then, of course, we will take the rotor blade and we mount it in this hole just up top of him. And now he is in his alternate mode, an attack helicopter. More specifically, he is meant to be a Sikorsky MH-53. And again, many of you Transformer movie fans would also recognize this helicopter, as Michael Bay used this helicopter to be Blackout in the original Transformers movie from 2007. So we already had that helicopter well before Michael Bay got his hands on it. It's not a bad looking little helicopter. I'm not a fan of the color per se, but beggars can't be choosers. As you can see, hold on to the back of him, he does swoosh pretty good. And of course, like all the others, he's got these little wee wheels here. How does he roll on them? Actually, he rolls somewhat better. But of course, as he doesn't have a piece down front to cause as much drag, that kind of helps him out a little bit. But at any rate, it's still a nice little addition to the team, since there were only 2 helicopters in the Micromaster line. So, and there we go. That's Blazemaster. Next up in the group we have is Sky-High. Sky-High is the team's optimist. He always sees the glass as half full and is happy to help and all that. Kind of the annoying happy friend that irritates the snot out of everybody, but is always the one everybody turns to when they need morale boosting. Of course, Sky High also happens to share his name with another Transformer. There was a Pretender named Sky High that was released the year prior to him. So it's kind of, how did Hasbro miss that? But at any rate, as you can tell, he's probably one of the harder ones to find in good shape, since he is predominantly white in color. So finding a nice all-white one like this one is very difficult to find. As far as articulation goes, it's pretty much the same as it is for the rest of the patrol. The arm rotates at the shoulder, although he can go slightly higher than 180 degrees. Since his arm, that's straight up, but he can go back just that much further. Not that it allows you to do anything, but you do have that. He can also bend at the hip 90 degrees. And his knees also bend, but they bend in the backwards direction. Okay, to transform Sky High, first thing we do, like always, is we get his arms all the way down. Then we'll come back behind him and we will fold out his wings. We're going to bend his legs at the hip and knees. Fold the body flush against the legs. And then we fold down the cockpit section. And then there we have him as the strange addition to this attack patrol, as he is a passenger plane. More specifically, he is a Concorde. So he has the same alternate mode as Silverbolt of the aerial bots, but smaller. And again, it leaves one wondering, why would they have a passenger plane in a military faction? Especially one like the Concorde. I mean, yeah, the Concorde had speed, but it is not maneuverable enough to dogfight. Despite what we saw in the one airport movie where the Concorde was seen capable of being able to spin and dodge and somehow avoid the missiles and other weapons of enemy aircraft that were attacking it. So for those of you who believe Hollywood, consider something else. There's one other thing to point out about Sky High here, is that he does suffer from paint wear on the cockpit. As you can see right there, just about at the hinge, the paint job is not exactly the best. I'm guessing this is worn from play. But it is something to point out to all of you viewers out there. And again, on the underside, he does have them little wee wheels. Let's see how he rolls. Good thing he's just bright enough to not blend in with the table. And he rolls pretty good too. I'm surprised those little plastic wheels seem to roll very well. Then, of course, last but not least, we have Treadbolt. Treadbolt is the stealth expert on the team, to the point that he never seems to stop hiding. He likes to suddenly appear in front of other Transformers, which is a good thing to have when you're out in the battlefield. Unfortunately, Treadbolt has the nasty habit of popping up in other Transformers' quarters back at the base. You know, just the thing you want to put up with after you've had a long day of fighting Decepticons. All you want to do is lay back and relax, then you got this little twerp hiding out in your room. But at any rate, for his articulation, it's pretty much the same. Straight down on the arm. Well, there's the difference. Nope, there it goes. He can go all the way up, so he does have 180 degrees with his arms. Does have a joint at the hip that allows him to bend at the hip 90 degrees. His legs bend at the knees, but they can go up. They can also go down, but they can only go down that far. So he does have a little bit more in his legs than the others, but not really enough to warrant doing anything with. But unlike many of the others, his legs are not connected together, so they are independent of each other. So he does have that going for him at least. Now, of course, transform Treadbolt, same like the others. We start by folding his arms down. Then we're going to fold his feet up, like so, against his body. Then we turn him around and fold out the wings, like so. And then you can see why he's a stealth expert. His alternate mode is a stealth bomber. He's apparently supposed to be a concept of what would eventually become the B-2 bomber. Which again, like with Eagle Eye, he was a plane featured in Independence Day. As you can see, he's also vastly different from the actual working B-2, as he's got his backside is more of a straight line instead of the jaggedness that the actual B-2 is. And of course, on him, you also have to watch paint wear, as his Air Force markings on his back are painted on, so they do scratch off very easily. As you can see, these have on mine. And again, he's also got the little wee wheels. Let's see how he rolls. Again, very, very good. So that's very surprising. Alright, now that we've looked at the team, we'll take a look at their card backer. You can see this one's not in the best of shape, but it suits our purpose as well. You can kind of see where each of them was on the card. And of course, we take a look at the back. For whatever reason, they have Treadbolt here. Commission is talking about their backstory a bit. Then next to that, you see the others that were available at that time. They were released alongside the Construction Patrol and the Racetrack Patrol. And then, of course, you've got each robot's instructions and their own specific motto. Treadbolt's is, you can't hit what you can't see. Eagle Eye is, victory reigns from above. Sky High is, the sky's the limit. And Blaze Master is, look out below. And of course, down here underneath that, you got the barcode and the robot point. They were worth 1 point. And then over here, we've got their tech specs. It's got a picture of the group, and of course, the pictures match what was done on the front of the card. It's got a red logo, a red box above it, and red lines signify they are Autobots, even says Autobot. Gives their name as Air Patrol, and their function is air defense. And the team's motto is, keep your eye to the sky. An elite corps of top-notch flyers, considered the best aerial fighters to ever take to the skies. Revered by their fellow Autobots for their ability to neutralize enemy encampments without destroying the surrounding area. Fast, fierce, efficient fighters, able to emit circular force field that's impervious to most armaments when flying in a V formation. So basically they fly around like Canada geese. Also armed with high-intensity heat lasers and long-range communication systems. All equipped with suborbital travel capabilities. Usually commissioned for the Autobots' most dangerous special air missions. I think that's a little bit of hot air, but let's bring it over here to the grid. Of course, this was the new style of grid that they started using the year prior. The Action Masters would switch to a different grid. It lists their teamwork as an 8, their cooperation is a 6, their strength and endurance are both 8, their speed is 9, their intelligence is 10, their courage is 8, and their skill is 10, so they apparently can back up some of the words that were said in their bio. Now, of course, we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of the Air Patrol? The Air Patrol, I do believe it would be considered a top-tier Micromaster group, as you do have a decent balance of airplanes in this group. I mean, we got a fighter jet, you got a helicopter, you got a stealth bomber. That's a pretty interesting lineup. Just unfortunately, you have a passenger plane in amongst it as well, so makes it kind of hard to fully evaluate. Excuse me. But overall, I think that the toys that these guys do have a lot of playability with them. And let's face it, the tech spec bio, while likely throwing out a lot of hot air about the team, does seem to encourage the use of the imagination to go along with them. So I'm willing to let that slide in favor of the fact that use your imagination and you can go far. And they certainly seem to allow you to do that. This group was always one of my favorites growing up as a child, even though at the time they came out I was starting to get out of playing with toys, but I still did enjoy having them, and they were a good part of my Autobot army, so am I being a little bit biased? Probably, but I still think that they're an interesting little group, and they do offer a nice mix of aircraft, so they are well suited for a wide variety of missions. So I would definitely say they're a top-tier toy. And that concludes my review of the 1990 Autobot Air Defense Group, the Air Patrol. If you like this review, please leave a thumbs up for me here on YouTube. Don't forget as well, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so you can join up in our ranks and ring the bell to be notified of all the future videos. Please also consider sharing your thoughts of the Air Patrol in the comments down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.